So hopefully we can continue to see some success with Large Rock Lesnar here today. But of course, who knows what the dungeon has in store. So without further ado, let's get ready to hop right into it, shall we? So we had just kind of gotten our statue form up to a semi-acceptable level. We're still not at the minimum requirement for it, so we're still losing out just a wee bit of maximum health. In fact, we can potentially take a look at that. It's a difference between 118, was it? And 136? 128. So not the end of the world by any means, and of course it gives us a lot more defensive capability. The main thing we miss out on, and the piece that will be relevant for the near future here, is melding our robe removes the flying ego that we've been carrying around for a large chunk of the game here today. So unfortunately, we might feel that a little bit in shoals. But I think the defensiveness of this form by and large makes up for it. We at the very least can kind of stand our ground and just chuck things to our heart's content. So maybe it won't be too much of a deterrent once we're up and running here. But I guess without any more ado about nothing, we should just start thinking about heading in. And I do think we'll be doing shoals here first. Spider makes me a little bit nervous these days. Current iteration of Spider can be pretty dang dangerous, so I think this might be our best bet for the time being here to see if we can't wiggle in there and get ourselves the first rune on this character, shall we? So with that in mind, we're going to head in here, and what I think we'll do is actually quiver the boomerangs. We can use the large rocks to good effect here, of course, but oh, I'm guessing Zom took us on a little bit of a ride. Okay, that is fair, my friend. More power to you. And we'll use our claws still whenever possible, but not going to be too concerned if we have to toss a few things on our way. Especially just softening up enemies as they make their approach generally does pretty well for any character. Finish them off with some good old-fashioned unarmed. Fantastic. I'm probably not going to worry about the torment scroll, just because we have a large health pool, so it's going to hit us pretty dang hard every single time. But I did get a little distracted there because we got another scroll of acquirement. Holy moly. Let's see if this has anything of interest to us here. A manual of throwing. Doesn't seem too bad. Cold vulnerability on a ring. I think we're past the point of looking at any negatives like that. And then yeah, Executioner's Axe, no thank you. A little bit of gold doesn't make a big difference either, so let's pick up that throwing. And as soon as we get shapeshifting up to a decent level here, we'll probably be making the change over on that side as well. But not too shabby here for the time being. Willpower being stripped away shouldn't be a big deal either, fortunately, so that is totally fine by me. And what scrolls have we not ID'd by this stage of the game? This is either Amnesia or Brand Weapon. Honestly, both of those are pretty much useless to us, so I'm tempted to just leave it right on the floor here. I mean, is there anything in my inventory that I actually want to drop? I guess a Robe of Cold Resistance. Yeah, we're not really using that anymore, so I think that should be just fine to leave by the wayside for the time being. Why, hello there, Francis. Did not expect to see you here, my friend. Throw Icicle could hit pretty hard here. Fortunately, we have some defenses. What was the first thing? It was a shard of ice that was launched our way. You son of a gun. Well, let us phone a friend and another friend, and by the powers of all three of us combined, there we go. I was pretty sure we wouldn't have too much of an issue, and that did indeed end up being the case. Now this is a tricky one. We have fire vulnerability from one of the mutations that Zom gave us here. So this son of a gun, I mean, at least it's only 20. It's still not ideal, but we're gonna just try to delete them first and foremost. Fortunately, we do have enough firepower to justify staying in that fight and not worrying over much about it for the time being here. So that's fantastic. And onwards we go. I would like the Scroll of Silence here. That is exceptionally useful against a lot of the uniques that we're definitely potentially going to run into at some point in our journeys here. So that is beautiful. We have a Tin of Tremor Stone, Scroll of Fog, Wano the Transmogrifier, and with a Flame Weapon. So that's perfect. That's just what we want on the character that, as we just mentioned, is actively struggling with that in particular. Oh, thank you, Zom. I mean, I probably would have been fine to just continue that fight. Are you using... No, you're not using fire. I was wondering why we were taking so much damage, because this does seem to be the same crew that we were just endeavoring to defeat, but I guess only time will tell, or more accurately, we'll never really know. But a bit of uncertainty is good for you, you know? Hello, my turtley pal. Definitely let the rest of these folks come to us on the stairwell, but overall, nothing we can't handle here, so that is wonderful. And so far, Shoal's not going too poorly for us here. In fact, it's much, much better than the last character that we brought into Shoal's, seeing as how I'm pretty sure that was rising up, and equally assured that that was indeed what got us killed in the end. So not ideal by any means, but oh, interesting. We got, this is like Lita's liquefaction or something like that from Zom. Thank you, sir. I mean, wasn't really necessary for us here, but still appreciate it nonetheless. Our pack is full. I mean, there surely is something I can dump here, right? I guess Maw Talisman can probably go, even though it did absolute wonders for us for quite a while. No longer really a necessary piece to our overall kit here. So don't mind saying one final goodbye to that. Otherwise, going fairly well for us. Ooh, confusion hitting at a less than ideal moment, but I guess as long as I keep having the ability to largely one-shot enemies that come up to us, not a huge deal. Of course, as we start to get a little bit surrounded here, I just want to take a look at what kind of options we have available to us. A throwing net would be rough, so we could try to paralyze you. As we've been kind of touching on throughout this run as we started it last week, we unfortunately don't have a lot of good tools for dealing with groups of enemies like this. So at the very least, I'm going to try and reduce the effectiveness of their polearms, I guess. We could dig into this wall next to us as well. Not that one there, of course, but this one just a wee bit further. I mean, there's probably something to that. We have 9 digging charges, so that's not too bad. Let's hop in here and just try to reduce the overall number of enemies that can be poking at us here. Oh, thank you for the extra little helping hand there, Zom. I do appreciate it. Again, I feel like through our open communication and all that good stuff, we have built a very strong foundation for this relationship. I very much appreciate that. File of Floods is another pretty solid addition to our overall toolkit here. So let's definitely make sure to pick up that son of a gun. At the very least, you know, who needs that silence if we have another source of it? So we don't have to hinge all of our hopes and dreams on that single scroll. But there we go. Okay, turns out it was brand weapon that we picked up earlier. Let's continue to, I guess, slowly but surely make our way through the potions. Actually, Potion of Resistance is pretty huge for us. We can at least get rid of that fire vulnerability. Otherwise, we're looking all right across the board, but still definitely a big improvement in that regard. Brand weapon, I think I will drop on the floor for the moment here, though. Again, chances are we won't be using that at any stage in this run. I'm pretty dang happy with our claws for a 3-rune run, and so it's a little bit unnecessary to get too crazy in that department. While we're confused here, I think I will just try to step upstairs for safety. In fact, let's not even bother going down that same one. We'd called quite a bit of attention to ourselves there, so we'll just play this a little bit safer and let all these kiddos come to us. Beautiful. That fear is actually very annoying. Oh, unless enemies want to do the kind thing and walk directly up to us. Thank you. Do appreciate that, my satyr friends. And otherwise, ooh, resist poison, regen, and a bit of strength on an amulet. Do lose 2 dexterity, which is a little bit rough at the moment here. We're already sitting at 8. I guess 6 is still relatively safe, again, under the conditions of it just being a 3-rune run. If anything's going into like Pandemonium and you're going to get your stats drained consistently and constantly, then maybe not so tenable of a plan, but in this case, let's go for it. Should increase our attack at least a little bit here. Our attack delay is at 1.1 because of statue form. Interesting. No, our shape-shifting is about to hit its cap here, so I think I do actually want to train just a bit more shields in the background here. And while we're at it, I was trying to think about defensive skills and kind of the path we want to take there. Could turn dodging back on. That's not too outside the realm of good ideas here, but I think instead I'm just going to go with fighting. Get that ticking along in the background, and that will kind of work its way into a defensive boon just through sheer maximum HP, which is kind of the modus operandi for a troll like ourselves, so that doesn't seem too far outside of the bounds of expectations here. And more ID for our troubles, fantastic. Hey Herrick, not doing too badly on my end here. It's been a busy last little while, both on the work side of things and also just trying to make some changes in life in general here, trying to get a bit healthier with some of my habits and schedule, specifically eating better and exercising. So it's been a productive and interesting last little while here. But how are things on your end? How have you been? Probably should not have charged directly into the fray here, but never mind. Not punished even remotely, so brilliant plan after all. Again, we only ever have to pay attention to the results. Let's not think too hard about the decision making that goes into them. Instead, just solely focus on this lovely confirmation bias and assuming that we're a genius at any given opportunity. And looks like we're in I always want to call this ending to shoals, like the shell enclave, the conch dens. But it is actually one of my favorite because I do feel like it's a little bit simpler to deal with each of these kind of small groups of enemies housed within each of these shells, rather than the other one that I think of, or that comes to mind most readily, is the fortress ending, which the center of that son of a gun is oftentimes just an absolute nightmare to deal with. So very much can thank our lucky stars here. If I could just get you to walk out this way a bit, fantastic. And similar with you, my alligator friend. Okay. And suddenly there were 7. This run definitely has a little bit of an issue with every single encounter going from 0 to 100 in record speed. As enemies, again, just seemingly materialize out of absolutely nowhere. Oh my gosh, another scroll of acquirement? Holy moly. Got a Shoals 4 that was all angels and you almost died every time you went down while stair dancing. Oh geez. That's pretty wild. It's definitely a little bit earlier in the run than when you'd want to be running into packs of angels. Can't think of a time that we might have run into anything similar. Again, I feel like I get the 2 that I've already mentioned here very, very commonly for my endings to Shoals. Maybe in one of my recent runs there was a 3rd kind of point of interest, but honestly couldn't tell you. Scarf of the Game Afoot, so we can get some repulsion and some dex. We'd lose 2 armor class, but the dex +5 actually in many ways gives us defensive capabilities to kind of counteract that. Repulsion is a bit interesting as well. I mean, it'll do us, or rather, it would have done us quite well here in Shoals. But now that we're at the end, I mean, Spider not so much, unless it works on Orbs of Destruction. Helps its wearer evade missiles. Zot says, so probably not so much. Even though Reflection, now I want to read the Reflection brand and see how it words things. But I still think I might take it. Mainly because a mace, almost 0 interest in. I mean, it has okay resistances to use it as a stat stick, but the damage will just be abysmal. Staff of Earth, similarly, not helpful for us here. Bit of gold is always nice, but let's just grab this beautiful little scarf here and see how that feels, shall we? I think they were just cherubs, some kind of holy dudes. Still definitely falls under the category of being a little bit stressful to deal with. At least for most characters when they're, going for what is oftentimes their very first rune. At least for me, I'm definitely a Shoals first kind of guy, because both Spider and Snake kind of rank a little bit higher up on the danger scales for me. But we'll just continue to, for the most part, honestly, blitz our way through these Sons of Guns. And look at that, our repulsion scarf that we're not wearing would have actually come in handy slightly here. In fact, after we're done this fight, let's take a little bit of a peek at that, shall we? Maybe we'll deal with this turtle first, too. So we're at 29 armor class, 14 evasion. And if we make the change, we gain 1 evasion, lose 2 AC, gain a bit more dex, and that repulsion field, I mean, we can try it out. I don't mind a nice purple scarf here as well. Again, I am all about the accessorization of our journeys here in the dungeon, so that looks pretty dang good to me. Well, I saw the rune in there, and this definitely seems like a bit of a rune section. Holy moly. Doing good on your end. Good luck with the health journey. Putting time at the gym always makes you feel better. Yeah, I think that's definitely starting to have its effect on me as well. It's both the workout part, I mean, releasing endorphins, so definitely makes you feel pretty good, but even just having a bit more of a schedule, I think I very quickly fall into these lulls of, I mean, in some ways it's its own kind of schedule to just consistently sit around and do nothing, or put on a background show, play a game that I don't even really feel like playing, but it's something to keep my mind busy, that kind of thing. So it's nice to have some more productive activities kind of sprinkled in there, at least a little bit. As for all of our friends here, I think bring in a beast of our own. I guess I don't have any evocations. I have 4 evocations, so at least the tiniest bit of assistance on there. I might actually turn you back on, because I'd like to get to the point where we're at least summoning in a slightly stronger beast here, but we'll see how that goes. And I just want to be ready to potentially start triggering a teleport, rather. I do have a lot of these pole arms coming in, so I'm gonna just sneak around the corner the slightest bit here. Okay, you know what? That's not gonna work out for me. That was too many javelins, and honestly, still kind of is. I shouldn't keep on fighting, and yet, here we are. I mean, we've naturally explored the majority of the floor here, so I think I am actually gonna just read a teleport scroll, get zipped around, and hopefully we're feeling a little bit safer now, especially since the majority of those enemies should kind of naturally diffuse themselves throughout the rest of the floor here. Amulet of Reflection. I mean, I think I will grab that for the regen that we're unlikely to swap back to at any point. And we'll keep on keeping on. Dagger of the Hammering Rat. Just lovely. And okay, turns out we did even better than I was expecting with the diffusion of enemies here. Slightly terrifying that those Javelineers are just wandering about, but I'm sure we'll be fine. I mean, we're just about at the point where I would be dropping the Wand of Flame. Because essentially we definitely need to make room for these javelins on the floor. That's a bit of a no-brainer for me. I guess I don't need a Ring of Poison Resistance these days. And sure, I'll drop my cloak. Why not? We're kind of happy with our current scarf attire here. So that doesn't seem too bad at all. And no poison darts for me, my friend. Jeez Louise. Well, we'll finish exploring. No idea where the majority of those Sons of Guns went. I'd like to find them while kind of sticking closely to the stairs would be ideal. Guess I could forget the entire map. That's kind of the easy answer for re-exploring and trying to stumble into these buddies. Of course, the main consideration there is that I want those javelins. Something fierce. Oh, we're gonna forget it. Let's do this the old-fashioned way. There we go. Find one of you. Beautiful. Definitely grab a couple more javelins there. Snapping Turtle is fine as well. But we'll just keep on keeping on. Beautiful. Oh, you had a Distortion Spear. You know, I should have thought of it because purple highlights on a Javelineer is a bit strange. Specifically, it would generally mean, I guess, like throwing net was, I think, where my mind was going. But an unplanned trip to the Abyss would have been interesting, to say the least. I mean, at level 16, almost 17, we're not quite at the comfortable level. I mean, honestly, you generally want to be level 20, but with a troll character, I've oftentimes snuck in there a little bit under-leveled and still managed to even grab the rune and get out. But not too bad for the start of our evening here. Managing to get our first rune under the belt. And honestly, Shoals was pretty dang smooth overall. I don't believe, even for a moment, that Spider is going to be quite so forgiving. But we have some invisibility. We have just 3 curing is not great for the confusion coming off of Tarantulas there. How are mutations looking at the moment here? Sharp toenails, antennae. Boo. Not great. And we got Potionitis here. Frail. I mean, Zom, I think there's a little bit to be desired here, but you know, let's give you the time and space to potentially figure out, you know, what it is you want out of this relationship, and we can go from there. Why was I seeing this as being unnavigatable? Strange. I don't know what was blocking us there, but I guess let's not worry too much about it, and let's get going here, shall we? I guess at the very least, we should one-shot every spider we come across. As long as we hit. That's the tricky part with the high evasion of these Sons of Guns. And again, definitely focus on our confusion inflicting son of guns first and foremost. Nice. We lost the potionitis. That's wonderful. Magical essence linked to the wands is fine. It's not that bad, not that good. Ring of magical power? No, thank you, sir. Appreciate the offer, but I will have to refuse. Ooh, some more revelation scrolls, I believe is what they're called. I want to say magic mapping, but that's a little bit outdated in this day and age of DCSS. Holy moly. I'm gonna let my imp friend take a hit for the team there. So sorry. These things needs must and all that. So I should actually take a look. We were blocking orbs, it looks like. I don't know if that's our scarf in action. I'd guess not. Has Dom so far been a help or a hindrance? Always a little bit of a mix of both, you know, having some good fun, but honestly not too bad on this run. The only issue I have with Zom right now is this heat vulnerability, but other than that, it's been a pretty fair mix of good and bad mutations. No really nasty teleports, you know, we're not being directly brought into things like that Shoals rune vault would have been a bit of a nasty surprise, which, you know, may just mean that Zom is holding off on all that fun and joy until we get to Zot, and they can just consistently drop us into the orb chamber or something fun like that, but only time will tell. And fortunately, we've been having very clear, open communication conversations with Zom about our expectations of this relationship, and hopefully that means that you know, we have a bit of a mutual understanding, as all good relationships should be built from. So going off of that, I'm sure that Zom will be just the greatest help you've ever seen moving forward. It's truly going to be a thing of beauty here as we continue onwards for honor and glory. And you, my friend, we'll just stand around throwing our boomerangs. Wonderful. A bunch of artifact armor pieces have been showing up in the last couple seconds here, but of course nothing we can really use there. Don't know why I caveat it with uncertain languages, or language rather, because no, there's just literally nothing we can do with that. And confusion strikes again. I'm pretty sure at this point, okay, that one might have been from a Tarantella, but I was gonna say that I think Zom was having a bit more fun with us than any of the spiders here when it came to inducing a state of addlement here. But not too bad. This is honestly going better than I expected. Which, not saying a whole lot. Oh, okay, actually perfect time on Zom to bring in summons, just because the Broodmother could very quickly change the tides of this fight through sheer numbers. So that is just lovely. Thank you, all my impish pals. Not too shabby here. I probably should have just done a little bit of boomerang throw and came back to this nice natural retreat point, but why play intelligently when you can just get lucky? And definitely kill the Rad Roach. While they still have other enemies around, they're less likely to use their actually dangerous attacks, so definitely happy, in fact more than happy, to take advantage of that as much as we possibly could in the moment.